afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first official episode of the Goldenrod Draft League Broadcast. I'm Merk.
And I'm Soul.
And today we're going to be bringing you our coverage of the F.A.R.M Togekiss League Week 1. And without further ado, here we go. Alright, let's move on to our kill leaders and defensive leaders for the week. So the way that this segment is going to work is we will list the top 5 kill leaders amongst all the leagues that we're covering, and as well as the defensive leaders for the week. Now, the kill leaders will be like the standard kill leaders, like cumulative kills, deaths, and stuff. And then the defense will not be cumulative. It will be a week-by-week basis based on awarding a certain amount of points based on how many either neutral, super effective, or resistant hits it takes and survives. Alright, so let's start with the kill leaders first. So starting in at kill number 5. We have Skarmory. Skarmory picked up an impressive 3 kills and it didn't die for a positive 3 diff. All 3 of these kills were passive kills, as it provided a lot of bulk and support for Bart in his match. So let's move on to number 4 now. Moving on to number 4, we have Zapdos, who also picked up an impressive 3 kills and didn't die. Zapdos provided a lot of crucial special attacking support for Banana Lord, and its numbers showed how impressive it did in the matchup. Moving on to number 3, we have Alolan Ninetales, who also picked up 3 kills, zeroed, and didn't die. It had a really nice sweep at the end of its game for Lux, and was just able to secure that victory. Moving on to number 2, we have Thundurus Incarnate, who picked up an impressive 4 kills before dying, giving it a +3 diff. And this Mon was just a monster for money. His opponent had very limited switch-ins, and even then the switch-ins didn't appreciate this thing. And then our number 1 kill leader for the week is Entei, picking up an impressive 4 kills and not dying. Entei did an amazing amount of work for Slayer, providing a lot of offensive pressure, and picking up those 4 kills really showed what it was able to do. So before moving on to our defensive leaders, I want to explain how the point system works for the defensive leaders. Pokemon are awarded points based on hits that they take and survive. If it takes a resisted hit, it gets half of a point. If it takes a neutral hit, it gets 1 point, and a super effective hit, it gets 2 points. Alright, so moving on to our number 5 defensive leader, we have Money's Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn took a total amount of 8 hits before the game was over, and it accumulated a total of 6.5 points total. And as impressive as that is, as Ferrothorn has always been really tanky, and it's hard to believe that this is just number 5. Moving on to number 4, we have Heatran. Now, Heatran, as you can see, it took 4 hits and gained 8 points. His Heatran took 4 hidden power grounds from Cresselia, and a minute before it finally went down, and putting a lot of pressure on the Cresselia. And so this thing just did a lot of work against the bulky wall, and took 4 times super effective hits. Moving on to number 3, we have 27's Shaman. Shaman gathered a total of 9.5 points, taking a total of 7 hits. And this against Scoot, and this thing was able to dish out damage as well as take hits, and even though the battle was a loss, this thing did a monstrous amount of work. And it shows that 27 really knows how to use this Mon effectively. Moving on to number 2, we have Oricorio Pom Pom. It took a total of 13 hits, gaining 11 points. And Scoot was really impressive with this thing. It did a lot of work. It tanked 3 outrages from a Gudra, which is impressive. All right, and as impressive as that is, there was one Mon that shined out defensively among all the others, and that was Skarmory, and that's Bart's Skarmory. This Mon took 25 hits, gaining a total of 25 points. And among these hits, it took 2 super effective fire punches from a huge power Diggersby, which is insane. This thing did a lot of work, and as you saw, it was on the kill leaders too. Picked up 3 passive kills at the end of the game, giving Bart the victory. All right, and that is our top 5 kill leaders and defensive leaders for the week. I want to thank you all for joining us, and we'll move on to our next segment. All right, and welcome to our Togepi Game of the Week. We'll be going over a game in the Togepi division of the F.A.R.M League that we thought was worth a special mention, as all of these players are really, really good. The match that was chosen this week it's more of a send-off match to one of our friends, Nightmare, who unfortunately had to drop the league due to personal reasons. So let's go ahead and I'm going to start this game and let it play while I talk about some of this stuff. So Knight has had a few personal things come up, and like I said, has had to drop the league. Knight was with us in season 1, and we want Knight to know that even though he's having to leave us, he's always welcome back at the farm, and that we hope that he gets everything in his personal life figured out. And he's just a tremendous battler. He made it to the semifinals of season 1, and he's playing a really good battler in Azzy. And as you can see right now, it's just a back and forth game. Now, unfortunately for Knight, this game doesn't quite go his way, but this was still a really, really, really good battle. It's really enjoyable to watch. It's really fast-paced, has some really good reads, really good plays, and I think that this was definitely one of the top 2 games in the Togepi Division Week 1, and I think that many people would agree on that. And so, like, you have the good combination of bulk from both sides. You see the Dragalge, the Conkeldurr on Nightmare's side, was both Ferrothorn, the Gliscor on Azzy's side, and it's just some good tech and stuff as well. Like that Dragalge surviving that Earthquake was just crazy from that Gliscor. And so this game is unfortunately going to be a 1-0 loss for Knight, but Azzy is a phenomenal player, and he figured out his win cons and knew how to play it right. And so that is all for the Togepi Game of the Week. And as I said, Knight, we hope that everything goes well.
Alright, welcome everybody to the top 5 plays of the week, where we go through the top 5 plays of this week in the F.A.R.M Draft League. So, I'm gonna hit you right off the bat with the first MVP, the first play. This is number 5. This is Boss Mania versus Slayer. And I'm gonna just start the game, and I'm gonna do it fast, right? So you can kind of like see what's going on. The MVP in this game is definitely Swampert, and as you can see, if you go from the start, right? If you just see from the match here, you can see that Swampert in Rain really sweeps this team pretty well. Like, it outspeeds everything, and it's super effective to 3 of the things. Like Mega Diancie doesn't take it, Victini doesn't take it, Landorus T doesn't take it, and late game it just stomps through Keldeo and Kyurem as well. Even if you manage to get the Kyurem worn down, it should be pretty easy. So already from the team matchup, you can see that this is a really good MVP, or like the play, why this makes the play of the week. And you'll see how it plays here. I'll just talk about it as we go. There's really, you can see Slayer getting the upper hand early in the match. Like, as you can see, he has some pressure on him on Boss Mania right now. gets a crit right there, crit burn actually, which is really sucks for Bruno. So you can see that Slayer kind of has pressure right off the bat, even though like you'll see it's more of like here we see the Mega Swampert for the first time, and it packs the superpower for the Kyurem, so the Kyurem isn't really a problem, although it would be usually. It does take hefty amounts of damage right there. In grassy terrain, when grassy terrain is up, it can't really go for earthquakes comfortably, seeing as earthquake gets halved in power in grassy terrain. So you kind of see you wouldn't expect this to be the play of the week from what you see here, but it's really the tail on the match that really brings it back for Bossmania, and you'll get to see that, right? So as we speed along here. Putting up a substitute, has rocks on his side though, which is going to, you see Kyurem is already worn down, as we talked about, right? The goal is for Kyurem to get one shot by superpower, and it's about that range right now. It gets leftovers recovery, so it's getting back up, but like when it keeps using substitutes and it gets stalled out by Bronzong, it really can't do much, right? As you can see, Bronzong provides a lot of pressure onto Kyurem, even though Kyurem outspeeds. So yeah, you can't really do anything about that, because you can try to PP stall out the gyro balls, but even though Bronzong can tank ice beams for days, so yeah, and he does get a KO on Kyurem, which makes it like 50% easier for Mega Swampert to sweep late game, and just see that as they go along. You turn one shots there, and you see like Slayer does a good job of keeping up the pressure. You wouldn't think that, or it brought Sunny to counter the rain, and also has Victini in the sun, which is very brutal. So you can create gets a boost there. So Slayer has a lead in Mons, provides constant pressure with setup and substitutes, but like Bossmania isn't really phased by that as much, because his team is able to handle what he has, mostly because of Bronzong. You can see Bronzong can tank with Levitate. It can tank anything from Landorus as well. The only thing it can tank is really knockoff, but it doesn't seem to have that or use that in this scenario, so it doesn't really matter. Smackdown doesn't do a whole lot either. Only thing Smackdown would be for is that Pelipper, but even then maybe like to get Bronzong off the ground, but like it can't even do that, right? So what you're doing right here is basically give Bossmania some room to breathe, because now he sets up the rain, lets Pelipper die, and here is where the thing starts to sweep, right? He just comes out, kills it, that's one kill, picks off Landorus, even though the minus attack does not matter at all, picks off the second kill, and here he comes in with the Ice Punch, kills. That's the third kill, and then paralyzed Victini. Even if it wasn't paralyzed, it would still outspeed, and there's the fourth kill. So Mega Swampert got 4 kills in that game, and that's really impressive. Definitely worthy of the 5th spot in the top 5. Okay, next up we have the money guys, Ferrothorn, and as you can see, Ferrothorn does really well here. As long as it doesn't tank a fire type move from Necrozma, Mega Houndoom, or Tapu Koko, it should be able to handle the rest of his team very well. So on paper it looks to be a good matchup for Ferrothorn, but let's see how this plays out, right? As you predict the Ferrothorn lead, and then you see Scout the Z, burn the Toxapex, and it's really stally matchup. We can go back and forth, right? But the main theme here is that Nightmare has to bring in his Tentacruel to try to get rid of the hazards, and you see that his Tapu Koko takes substantial damage. Most of his team is actually pretty squishy, or really they can't tank hits well. So if they don't outspeed, they're in trouble, right? Or if they can't wall break Money Guy, they're in trouble. And he has Toxapex Ferrothorn Core, right? With Megalopony and a Z-Guard Chomp. So you can see that Ferrothorn already here tanks, has set up the rocks for him, sets up a layer of spikes, tanks for Koko really well, forces the Tentacruel to go for a rapid spin, which is also countered by Ferrothorn's Iron Barbs, which racks up in damage. And right now you don't really see Don't really see Ferrothorn doing as much. It kind of like is a stall war with back and forth. There he sets up the Stealth Arcs with Garchomp right there. And it does Garchomp does provide solid pressure here. Lopunny takes some substantial damage there. Weakening this Necrozma is fatal for Ferrothorn to do well. Also getting rid of this Mega Houndoom right here, as we see, is a crucial part of it. Right now, Ferrothorn doesn't really have any big threats. Toxapex is burned and can get Leech Seed stalled, but Ferrothorn can't be Leech Seed stalled because it's a Grass type. So here he comes. Tanks a foul play like nothing. Iron Barbs goes in effect. It forces the Tentacle, right? And then it goes for Spikes. It forces you to go for Rapid Spin onto, while you set up those spike layers, it forces you to press Rapid Spin on it. Even a crit Ice Beam does nothing against this thing, right? So he can just protect, and then to get up all his hazards, and then Rapid Spin on the Iron Barbs. And this is where you start to see, or soon rather, Knockoff does not matter. Rapid Spin, Iron Barbs again. Gyro Balls on the switch there, which is really crucial. It gets the heal off, but it's really substantial pressure. Nightmare is not sitting comfortably in this. He doesn't really find the opportunity to bring Ferrothorn down enough for his Pokemon to really counter it well. He tries to get up rocks to seal the deal there, and Thundurus provides picking off pressure with its high speed. Good solid U-turn there, but it does take out the thing. But what you can see is like how Ferrothorn provides constant pressure in the form of that it can tag everything. It cannot be Leech Seed stalled. It forces Tentacruel to kill itself. Also substantial Gyro Ball damage. And I'd say it's pretty much a solid mon there. It tanks crit Ice Beams, tanks knockoffs. Iron Barbs does a lot of damage, and it seals off crucial. It takes away crucial Pokemon on the opponent's team, and that's why it's number 4 on this list. Now, next up we have Nana versus Nick, and the MVP of this match is Nana's Slowbro, and you'll see late on in the match why this is, right? Slowbro right off the bat doesn't do anything, but on paper has a really good matchup. The only thing that's really a threat to Slowbro is if Salamence starts to set up on it, Salamence or Chris starts to set up and gets far with it. But you have mons for that. It gets toxic at the start, which is really sad, but you'll see what kind of set this is in a moment. Pyukumuki is normally a good counter to Slowbro, but as you can see, it's not the rest block set. It's a baton passing set with Reflect, so that really doesn't stop Slowbro, so that's one counter normally gone. Buzzwole is another counter that really does well in this matchup, right? Like takes out his Mega Pinsir, right, and sits at a solid attack boost. You can also see gets a substantial kill here. Buzzwole was a good contender for top 5 plays of the week, but sadly couldn't clutch it out in the end, and you'll see how Slowbro brings it back for Nana. Heatran picking off the Dragalge with an Earth Power. Now gets off the crucial taunt onto the Cresselia, so it can't really Calm Mind on it. Traps it with Magma Storm. Really good use of your Heatran there. The Cresselia is kind of forced to kill itself here, which is a really good play on... Oh, misses the crucial Magma Storm there. Should have gone for taunt, really. Misses the crucial there. Now he can just heal off, so if you don't taunt it, it can just stall you with Calm Minds. So you could have played that tail end better. See, now you go for the taunt, right? Now Heatran is so low that Cresselia is going to outwin it in a 1v1, but Heatran could have had that matchup pretty easily if it didn't miss Magma Storms and stuff. Slowbro comes back in, and you would think that Toxic is countering the Regenerator ability, as you can see, but yeah, Cresselia is trying to make amends by Calm Minds setting up and making sure that Slowbro is getting Toxic stalled alongside it. Now Cresselia is Toxic here, which is really crucial because Cresselia's biggest counter is Toxic. And you see Slowbro is going to die first, right? Since the Toxic rack up about the same. But then he reveals the rest, which is really, really crucial set, because that means Cresselia is going to lose this 1v1 now, even if it has Calm Minds up, because Toxic is going to rack up so fast that Slowbro can just tank the hits that it needs, swap out with Regenerator, or maybe even just click Rest, you know, swaps out because it couldn't tank that last one. But Zapdos takes one for the team there, and Slowbro is like has a lot of health and cannot be stalled by Toxic. Very nice HP Ice there. You can kind of see that Gligar was a crucial part to take out, but if Slowbro has Scald and Burns Gligar or Salamence or Buzzwole or something like that, then it neutralizes the threat, which is really good. And this is where it comes down to the clutch, right? Ice Beam is also good on Slowbro for this matchup, but it doesn't have it, right? But okay, so Buzzwole really does well here. Buzzwole gives it the Stonage treatment, goes for the Volt Switch, and here comes Slowbro, right? Provides constant pressure in the back, and then now it's about trying to Toxic stall the Pyukumuku, right? Goes for the Volt Switch, kills it off, and then it goes into Slowbro. And this is where you think Buzzwole would take it, right? Leech Life is going to give Buzzwole enough HP to as where, yeah, there it is. That's the crucial play right there. Because Buzzwole would have won this matchup against Slowbro. The next Leech Life there would have killed, I believe, if it didn't get burned. So that's really nice for Slowbro to clutch it out right there. It could have been Zapdos because Zapdos outspeeds, but you know that crucial burn really seals the deal for it. So Slowbro is our number 3 play of the week. And next up we have Scoot versus 27. This is a gameplay that is really interesting. The MVP of this match is Oricorio. Oricorio doesn't really have the best matchup on paper, but at the same time, nothing really counters it outright. So the thing about Oricorio is he brought the electric form, which provides pressure onto the Tornadus T, which is the only thing that outspeeds it. Tornadus T can really do some massive damage to it. And look at how it tagged that Outrage, bro. Like, it's faster than Goodra with no speed investment, so you can just roost stall the Outrages. Look at this. It tanks like Outrage after Outrage after Outrage. And Ice Shard does provide substantial pressure. It's one of the few things that provides pressure onto the Oricorio. But he has 5 other mons than Oricorio, right? Oricorio by itself, it does well against the Alola Marowak, although Lightning Rod is a thing. It does do well against this because Hurricanes are now resisted due to the half electric typing. Air Slash Flinches are very nice. I mean, Shaymin outspeeds it, but Shaymin doesn't really do anything, right? Shaymin has the disadvantage of being a grass type against a flying type. So although it actually outspeeds, it doesn't really do much unless Seed Flare really gets it going right there. Okay, so Revelation Dance gets immunified. Knockoff onto Celesteela, wearing it down. Has a completely fine Charizard X in the back. Sets up a sub there. And then you can see the really nice Sub-On Berry gooey strat there that lowers the speed, which makes it a favorable matchup for Goodra. But now it's kind of used up its purpose, right? So what it's trying to do right now is to get the Outrages out, Leech Seeds to try to stay alive, get some damage off on the Tornadus. And then look at how it tanks that Heat Wave. It does 42%, which is roostable, and that's about the best they can do. So it roost stalls the Tornadus T and provides pressure with Revelation Dance. Sacks off the Celesteela here. And the way that the unique EV spread onto Oricorio makes it able to tank Outrages from Goodra really is interesting. At the same time, it really it shows how well an Oricorio can be used in this kind of matchup, because it has a decent matchup on paper. It's kind of like 50-50 in my opinion, but like it's not the worst, right? So it provides a lot of pressure, and you see it coming clutch in later on, right? Because now it's like 4 versus 4. Oricorio completely stalls out the Shaman. Air slash damage is crucial because it's racking up in the long run, right? Crucial knockoff on Suicune, no recovery now. Scalds the Shaman, no burn. And now it's kind of like a swap war, right? But the fact that Oricorio actually stalls, or actually not stalls, but like is countering Shaman and the Hitmontop, makes it a valuable asset in this 4 versus 4. Air Slash does solid against both Shaman and Hitmontop, and since if it's healthy enough, it can actually tank Heat Waves from the Tornadus T, so it can Revelation Dance to get crucial damage for the rest of the team to sweep as well. So it's kind of like Oricorio does almost everything here. It provides so much pressure. The only thing he has against it is that Mamoswine with Ice Shard, but at some point he's going to be forced into a bad swap on that. Gets the crucial burn onto the Tornadus T, which makes his Regenerator less effective. See, look, it just tanks that Dazzling Gleam outright. You can Roost Stall, you can U-turn, you can do whatever you want. So here comes an Air Slash. It doesn't outspeed, so Air Slash can't flinch here, but it's crucial damage. Roosts on that switch, beautiful play. See, tanks this Heat Wave, and that's fine. It misses the Air Slash, which is unfortunate, but it can afford to. Tanks another Heat Wave, gets burned, and still is able to Roost stall the Tornadus. Hits it with a taunt, and now it can go for U-turn Revelation Dance, Air Slash. But it goes for the Air Slash, knowing it was going to switch on the Revelation Dance predict. And then it goes into Greninja for the Ice Shard, switches back out. And it's kind of like back and forth. But you see how much Oricorio has pressure. Even though it's burnt from Heat Wave, it provides so much pressure for Scoot here. It's a really unique set. See, immune to Earth Power, immune to Earthquakes from Mamoswine, and slowly but surely he chips down the opponent's team, right? With Air Slashes, with the rest of his team. So, but Oricorio is really the one that stands out, especially since it's not a mon we see that often. So, seeing it provide this much pressure is really interesting. But slowly but surely, Ice Beam Greninja just wins him the game, right? And that's why Oricorio is number 2 on this in this week. At the top, though, we see the game between Bart and Pythons, and you can see how Skarmory just does everything in this matchup. Tanks a knockoff, gets rid of the Rocky Helmet. Right, okay, so the only bad matchup for Skarmory in this case is that Xurkitree. So if you get rid of it, then Skarmory really just has a field day. Since he has no fire type, Skarmory doesn't need to worry about that. Most of his team is physical, and the only thing he really needs to worry about is fire punches from Diggersby. But even fire punches from Diggersby, you'll see how effective Skarmory deals with it. And this is a really interesting Skarmory set. I'll show it to you at the end. But you can see how much the Xurkitree is already gone, right? Xurkitree is just out of there. Nidoking takes away the Sylveon, but the rocks from Skarmory already has done so much damage. So, okay, so now we have a Diggersby at +2. Fires off a Fire Punch, does not kill, goes for the Whirlwind, crucial Whirlwind for not only Stealth Rock damage, but gets the +2 Diggersby out of there. Tanks the knockoff because it has no item. Roost stalls the knockoff, and now it starts to set up spikes. And from that, it kills the Mega Beedrill just from hazards. Another layer of spikes. Damage. Tanks a Foul Play. Spikes. 3 layer of spikes plus Stealth Rocks. Roosts the damage. Tanks a Foul Play. Whirlwinds. That's damage. And then it switches out forces damage again, switches back out into Skarmory, tanks it because it has no item, tanks it because it has no item, roosts it back up to 99%, tanks another knockoff, whirlwinds for another damage roll on the hazards, even though he has Regenerator, right? Whirlwinds, damage. That Bisharp cannot switch in another time. And slowly, and not even slowly, with 3 spike layers up, this actually goes pretty fast. And you can see how Skarmory just tanks everything in the world with this. It even tanked +2 Fire Punch from Diggersby. And how is Diggersby supposed to set up when it can just live in Whirlwind or Roost on something that it has speeds, right? It's damaged. Tanks a normal Fire Punch. Gets burned. Whirlwinds it. Does damage on the Tangrowth again since Regenerator heals it back up. Roost stalls even when burned. Got that stuff right. Immune to Earthquake. Whirlwinds again. Kills off the Bisharp with Whirlwind. And this is how it keeps going, right? It kills... Regenerator is the only thing that keeps Tangrowth alive. So what he does is just Whirlwind stall so that Spikes will eventually kill off the Diggersby, and then he's only left with Tangrowth, which he can then kill off with something else, right? So he roosts Whirlwinds, he sets up Stealth Rocks, removes the Defogger, gets 3 layers of spikes, and then just Whirlwind Roost for the game. Because as you can see, this is a no attacking set from Skarmory. It has no offensive moves. It has just double hazards, recovery, and Whirlwind. And this actually is so effective. It's kind of like people see it as a lazy way of doing it, but like you can see how much work this puts in. And if you actually count up how much the damage is racked up on the just from Skarmory hazards alone, you'd be surprised to see that it's actually a heck ton of a percent. Although some of it is Regenerator produced, it's still very, very impressive. And Skarmory absolutely single-handedly made Bart dominate this game, and that's why we nominate it to the best play of the week, as we saw it. And welcome to this week's segment, Low Tier Pokemon of the Week, where we shine light on Pokemon that may be overshadowed by high tier Pokemon. And this week's edition is Oricorio. It's a pretty interesting Pokemon. It has 4 forms, as you can see on the screen. We have the Baile style, Fire Flying. We have the Pau style, Psychic Flying. We have the Pom Pom style, Electric Flying, and then last but not least we have the Sensu style, Ghost Flying. So Oricorio is a Pokemon in the lower brackets, often overshadowed by the likes of Moltres for the Fire Flying, Zapdos for Electric Flying, and stuff like Xatu, and even Zigglyph for Psychic Flying. Ghost Flying is kind of like the most unique one, but even then, its stats is not high enough to warrant it being a often drafted pick, but it has its niche. As you can see, its speed is pretty good, and its special attack is nothing to scoff at, but aside from that, it's just solid 70. It's decent. Its ability Dancer makes it so it copies any dance moves the opponent would like to use on the same turn without using a turn of your own, which is a really niche ability. Really, you don't see it come into play often, especially in competitive when people are trying to be aware of abilities like this. But so its dual typings, its variation in dual typings is very unique to this Pokemon, seeing as if you draft one, you draft all of them, and you can bring whatever combination of or whichever style you want. When it comes to sets you can run on this, it's I can easily see like Calm Mind coming to play. You have like a Calm Mind substitute set with leftovers, or you can even run Calm Mind Life Orb. Roost is its common form of self-recovery. Defog is a good option to remove hazards. Taunt is very good here since it has really good speed. A really fast taunter really makes it so you can counter a lot of heavy Pokemon that are out there to set up hazards like Stealth Rocks, Spikes, and Toxic Spikes. So Taunt is nice to have. It also has the access to agility, raising its speed even higher. And it has U-turn, which makes it a solid, or not solid, but a decent Scarfer. And then you have some niche moves like Icy Wind and Roleplay, which can actually turn the tides of a matchup in some picky scenarios. You can see it be running a physical set with Swords Dance. Even having, if you want to go the route with the Z Mirror move, you can also do that. But most likely you're going to see it run special. It can take advantage of rain with Hurricane, and its signature move, Revelation Dance, it's unique in the fact that it changes the typing on the move in relation to what style it is. So if it's the fire flying form using Revelation Dance, it's going to be a fire move. If it's the pom-pom, it's going to be electric move, and so on, right? So you get that variety there, and some form has more usefulness than others. The Byleth form is 4 times weak to rocks, and the Ghost one has triple immunity. So you do kind of have to like pick your poison here, but they all bring a little uniqueness to the table, so you get that kind of you have that variety, so it's harder to prep for you, but it's a decent mon overall. It has high speed, hits decent, and it has some. You would be surprised at how tanky base 70 defensive stats actually are. Vaporeon, for example, is a common used defensive wall, physically defensive even, and it only has the base defense of 60. It does have the Skull Burn on its side, being able to cut down opponent's attack in half, but you know it's an overall decent one. It also has Tailwind support to really push that speed to other users, but I do say being a decent Scarfer, a good substitute user, maybe a good baton passer, with some cheesy stuff with the roleplay. Fun fact about Oricorio is the fact that it gets access to Sandstorm. You would think that a bird like this would have access to Sunny Day, or maybe even Rain Dance, since it's Rain Dance move, but no, it actually gets access to Sandstorm instead. And I do kind of find it weird how the Firebird gets the access to Icy Wind. You do get all of these moves on all of these forms, so there's no specific restriction there. But yeah, it's an overall very decent mon, and I can see why people would draft this as their lowest tier pick. It doesn't cost a lot, it brings some variety, hits decently hard, overall very good mon.
Alright everybody, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you for joining us as we covered Week 1 of the F.A.R.M Togekiss League, and I hope that y'all will join us again as we cover Week 2. This has been Merk.
And Soul.
And we are signing out for now. See you all later.